Thank you so much for joining Black Zion's is mine and idea topic. Kati Tojako. Thank you so much for joining Blackwood Fire Network. It's Africa Maria from Kampala. You can know with my colleague INNOSSETU. It is exactly 49 past 8 a.m. here in the morning. Thank you for those who are joining us from all our channels live here this morning. And of course, let's dive right into our topic. The topic tonight is religion. Religion is mind control in Africa. But yeah, before that, let me ask Inosetu to greet you guys. Inosetu.
Tubalibenguuza.
Gwamayo kubanza kati simanyi na wakutandikirako eyo topic. Yogera kuba kati gwe wawagyeyo obuntu obwina. Nda bulijjo ntandika bw'oba obupidiyera kuba Now, today's topic being about religion, being an element of mind control in Africa. We know that the influence of religion on African society has varied widely across the continent and throughout history. Um, while some argue that certain religious practices have been used to control or shape minds, we all know that religion has, of course, defiled Africa's indigenous religious emphasis. And we know that um, for a very long time, Africa had valued its spiritual connection with nature rather than strict control. We also see that external forces such as colonialism also played a role in introducing new religions to the continent, impacting local cultures. We also know that it's crucial to approach this uh, with a very open mind, because apparently, when you talk about religion in Africa, Every African who is religious feels like he's being attacked in one way or the other. There is a lot of judgment when it comes to religion, acts, and beliefs all over the continent, and I believe this is not only with the Africa, but also with the rest of the world. Of recently, we've had a voyage or a group of Catholics who are trying to disbelieve because Catholics have been one Catholic followers or religious believers have been the ones at the first row to condemn homosexuality. Though we know that there has been a huge element of homosexuality in this very sphere of religion now. Recently, we saw the Pope come out and say it is okay for same sex to marry. So apparently, the Catholic Church is going to welcome those kind of acts, which is actually a debatable issue now among the Catholics all over social media platforms and Africa at large. If we see, most Africans are starting to withdraw from the things they believed so much and the things they respected so highly. One thing that this whole thing signifies is that this religion has never been an element of African culture. Why it has never been an element of African culture, and that's why we see a lot. That's why we are seeing a lot of people up against this kind of things. Most people are withdrawing because some Africans are like, so apparently, if religion is introducing a new culture that does not support Africa's beliefs, then that means we are all bound. First of all, that religion has kept on changing throughout time. We've seen people change from one laws to others. We've seen people change their missions from one agreement to the other. The first time, you ought to immerse people in the water body. The next time, it is okay. You can even use a little sprinkle. The next time, apparently, religion, the white man's religion keeps on transforming. It changes with the technology, with the modernity, with the, of course, what is happening. It changes according to what is going on now. This is unlike tradition because tradition hardly changes. These are the elements that identify these people that differentiate Africans from the rest of the world. We don't see Africa's tradition changing. We don't see its culture changing except with the introduction of modernity. Of course, we see a little bit of a hindrance into the practice. So the issue with the Roman Catholic Church with a connection with the Africans has actually created a debatable moment in the minds of several Catholics in Africa. They could not believe. Actually, there were always rumors that were always running around that you know, rumors that were running around that the Catholic Church is up against homosexuality. But now, I guess people are trying to understand that the fact that uh, the church can turn anytime and embrace what the governments or politics wants, then I probably look at the religion being a little bit shaken in the African society. Anyway, to dive to today's topic, that was by the way, because that's what is happening in, of course, Africa of now. When it comes to religion, it is a debatable issue that I could not go away without mentioning. Now, how has religion become a mind control through Africa? First and foremost, a lot of the Africans, if you check, most of the Africans are carrying themselves on religious basis. Most of the activities, most of the tradition and culture activities that are taking place in Africa are religiously based. We have seen The judgment, first of all, is religiously based. The moment something is done, someone wants to, of course, judge you according to religion. And that's why we've seen people separated in different religion. It also it goes straight from the social life or the social structure of Africa to the political structure, that even people choose to vote simply because somebody is, of course, believing or going to the same church that they are going to. For a very long time, we did not have people named names like Maria and other names. But the moment somebody asks you what's your name, then you ought to tell them, well, I'm Maria, because apparently that's a name that unites people. If I talk about my native name, some other people feel like it separates me from the rest of the world. But again, we forget that this is what makes me unique from the rest of the people. My real name is that name, not, Maria. You can say Maria anytime you want. Anyone has the right to, anyone can call me that. That's why, by the way, I even use that name, because anyone can call me that. A stranger, somebody doesn't know me and stuff, but someone to call me my real name must be somebody who really really knows me. And so we have been controlled to believe that to believe that religion is, is a culture that people should practice straight up from marriages, except that some religions accept polygamous marriage and others are monogamous. The Catholic Church, and it's funny, it's very funny, by the way, sorry to mention the Catholic Church, but yeah, it's funny how the Catholic Church supports monogamous. It doesn't allow men to marry more than one woman. And for a very long time, they have never accepted that. They have never accepted that. So you can see this cult, but from a blue, they're accepting homosexuality in the church, apparently. So same sex and a man, marrying more than one woman, what is worse than the other? But that's for you. Oh. So you know that for some time people have failed to make the right judgment because of the religious elements. Um, Religion itself, there is an incident that happened, I think, 3 days ago here in Uganda. 3 days ago here in Uganda, where there's one guy who passed. He has been known as a notorious, um, for some time he was a notorious robber. Let me say that. Um, it he was a thief. He was a murderer. Always taken to prison and gets released because there were no, uh, you know, evidence to his actions and stuff. So apparently this guy came out on TV and confessed, but he apologized. All right, he apologized for the sins and he asked to be forgiven. And he started living with the people in the community every day. I'm not like trying to judge or blame him. I'm explaining this story because with African spirituality or with Africa's way of life, as much as at times maybe they would not condemn you, Africans believed in nature more than any supernatural powers. So religion itself says when you forgive somebody, those people are forgiven. This is a misconception that has made a lot of people commit crimes, and two, a lot of people be adamant about crimes that are committed against them. So apparently, this guy, after shooting people dead, after killing, for some time he was quiet because every Ugandan believed that dude had changed. He came out on television, confessed the crimes, he confessed people, he has been killing people, carrying out robbery, but there is no way police would take them that. But he did not. They did not have, of course, evidence. Even after he confessed all these crimes, but he was, of course, asking for forgiveness. The police took him and started working to eliminate people who were just like him. But from the blue, I 3 days ago, 3 days ago, we see this man. We wake up to the news first thing in the morning that he was killed brutally with the machetes, with the stones and stuff. So he was machinery. At times, people would hire him and his gang to protect land where their land was. So even after he asked for forgiveness, he died. He was killed the same way he was killing other people. I'm not like trying to judge him because I don't have that power to judge him. But he was murdered in the same way he murdered others. Now Africans are not trained to understand. By the way, there is no way. Um, this is what I know, and I believe it is true. I'm sorry. There is no way you are going to commit a crime. There is no way you are going to hurt people. And no matter how much you apologize, I can tell you this for sure, nature does not forgive. Nature does not forgive. Nature does not forget. I don't know whether that's why people call it karma or what. I don't want to use that word karma because I don't know much about karma. I know about nature. Nature does not forget. Nature does not forgive. You should test. There is no way. The religion always tells us there is a heaven and hell. There is that life after death. You ought to apologize so that God, you can be forgiven. Whether you apologize to me, this is something that people don't know. Whether you apologize to me after wronging you and I forgive you, I can guarantee you must pay because that is life. So when people are trading, they should trade with that conscious that what you feel, do something that you know you can handle. Commit crimes that you are capable of handling. Do wrong, do negative things that you feel that if this is done unto me, I'm willing to handle. Do things that you are comfortable of repaying. Because at the end of the day, whether you apologize, whether you change, whether you do what, you must surely pay. You must surely pay for that. There is no forgiveness. Now, this is something that people don't really understand. People don't really, probably me forgiving you or somebody forgiving you just is an act of relief. Probably you feel relieved. You're like, you move and, okay, so I've been forgiven. There is that relief forgiveness brings in your soul, but you will never be forgiven for that because nature is not corrupt. Nature gives you what you give out is what you harvest. There is no shortcut to that. I've seen a lot of people who have died in the same way. There is no other experience. The experience you're going to experience is this experience now. Treat your parents the way you hope to be treated as you grow old. And this has been the African teaching that now people are neglecting. You want to be cared for as an old man, then do that because the same thing is going to come back to you. Um, Africans teaching have always been at that. to the point that most people were so not I'm not gonna say afraid, because when you're afraid that means you're willing to do something but you're just scared, to the point that most people knew the repercussions over the actions they will commit against humanity or nature. When we talk about nature, nature involves the human beings and everything just around it, everything around the human beings, the things in the environment, the human beings themselves. This is nature. So if you commit African tradition teachings taught people that if you commit any crime against nature or humanity, or nature, let me use the word nature or humanity, as lightest thing of it, you will have to pay. And religion comes in and tells you no matter what you do, you will always be forgiven. Who said? Who said? And to the point that people always think that sorry is enough to wipe away everything. Sorry is not enough. Sorry is not enough. I may be a tougher person when it comes to that, but sorry is not enough. There are things you don't need even to apologize for. Just sit and wait for your paycheck, because you cannot go ahead and murder people, you kill innocent girls, you make parents suffer, you do shit, and you just come and say merely sorry. You utter that word, no matter how, no matter the depth of that word, it's not going to bring back the things you made people lose. It's not going to redo. It's not going to undo all the things you've done. And that's why at the end of the day, you have to pay. Everything people do is supposed to be paid. Now, at the back of the African minds, they sit and wait. There's also a verse in the Bible that says when somebody slaps your left cheek, your right cheek, you give them the left so that they can slap you twice. When somebody does wrong, just see it. Yeah, yeah. Apparently, me, I would see it. Not verbally, not everything. I would sit and let you do that shit that you want to do. But there are other stuff that you have little power on. But Africans have sat for a very long time and waited for the judgment from God. They have sat for a very long time and not done anything. I'm not like trying to say I'm supporting probably other mobs should do shit, go and fight, go and do this. No, but that does not stop us from understanding and realizing that you have to grab the bull by the horns. As an African person, you have to stand and protect. Don't let nobody protect what is yours for you. Don't let nobody, because as you do these stupid things, as you're committing these stupid actions, nature is still gonna pay you. Now that's the funniest thing. You're sitting and you think it's normal. That's why we see trades or traits in families. People will say that family is a bogus family. They be doing shit all the time. Now it is reciprocating. It's coming, but there are things that we know as positive things. If you feel like this is something that you want to be a trait within your family, that's what you should do. If you feel like fighting for justice is the right thing to do, do that, because it's going to be a trait. The next time it's coming back in the next generation, and it's still going to come back. If you want your family to be robbers, then do that. Even when you ask for forgiveness, you're going to die like an animal. After you die like an animal, your children are going to do the same and they'll still die the way you did. And the trade keeps on. The only way we do this is to change from those bad things. There is nobody who is going to forgive you for that, even if you ask for forgiveness. And there is no way you are going to experience the judgment when the world is not seeing. The world must see. The judgment is right here. I've seen people. I've seen I've seen people tasting their own food. I've seen people testing their own medicine here on earth. There is no way you are waiting for somebody. I'm waiting to go to heaven. Apparently, it's where my riches are. You don't want to work hard. Every time, first thing in the morning, you're gonna charge. You spend apparently like 8 hours. You're praying for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Some others even go for the whole day, a week, then seminars, a week, 2 weeks. You are in charge. You are praying. You're praying for prosperity. You are praying for wealth. You are praying for our success. You're praying for wisdom, whatever. You are praying for a good family, a family that you've left, probably you're not even concentrating on. Now, this is the mind control that most of the Africans expect. We expect things to magically work. We expect that we have embraced and accepted that we should go through shit that we are going through in the world because there is a better place that has been promised for us, and that's the promised land. So Africans, every time somebody will say, why am I even struggling? There is that better place I'm working for. There is that better place. Somebody will say, why are you even fighting for that land, even if it's yours? Don't worry, there is a better place. That better place we are all hoping for, that no one has ever gone and come back and told us whether it is there or not. That better place that you have never visited is the place that you are putting your hopes in 100%. And this place that you know better, you've neglected a lot. Like I say, it is my belief. Anyone can believe otherwise, but I know that heaven and hells are here. This is where everything happens. This is where you experience hell. This is where you experience the heaven. This is where you build your legacy. This is where you construct something that will, of course, be remembered. This is where everything starts and ends. Now, people will usually, that's why, like I say, people should pay for their sins, the way they call them sins. The things you've done, you cannot, except that you cannot experience better things when you have given out wrong things. Except that we are not in people's lives to see what is going on with them. But from the little experience I've seen with people, I've seen people having their own taste. And it is funny how things reciprocate exactly the way it was done. But I don't know whether these people usually remember that, oh my God, I've ever done this before. Or maybe other times they would have forgotten, but I don't think it would just be so sweet for you to experience a crime you have committed against nature. And you remember, it would be so sweet for you to have that pain that, yeah, I'm paying back. I don't know that it would be a sweet or a relief, but I think it will be more painful for you to understand that the sins I'm paying back right now are things that are the sins I committed against something some time back. I'm gonna there is a story that I told Innosetu some time back. I had a relative of mine. Um, One time, um, she's actually my mom's elder sister. Um, she was so like loved a lot by her mom, apparently my grandma. So my grandma loved the daughter. It was the is the daughter is the eldest sister, my mother's side. So with anything, she would prefer not to go to anybody else but to her daughter. So she had pressure. My grandma had high blood pressure, so she had a stroke. And when my mom I was very young at that time, but my mom tells me that story. When my mom asked her that, let me take you to my home. Remember, my mom is a doctress. So mom was like, let me take you home. I treat you from home. Her mother rejected. She says, no, apparently, I want to go to my other daughter because she loved her daughter a lot. So as she went there, she expected, I think, I don't know, whatever she expected. But when she went there, she was mistreated by her daughter, by her kids. All right, she wasn't taken care of. Remember, she had so the only better places where you find yourself on the planet, that is heaven. Your mind is the only that exists. Exactly, exactly, Lando. Thank you for joining our live. I agree with you 100%. So, um, each time they would have parties in the house, they would hide Granny because she had a stroke. So apparently they didn't want like the other, world to see her. So my elder brother uh, had come to, of course, to get forms to be enrolled in one of the universities in Kampala. So apparently my aunt was here in the city. So when, of course, he was supposed to reach at my auntie's place so that the next time, first thing in the morning, he goes and get enrolled in one of the universities. So he saw my granny. Her nails had grown so tall and even folded. The hair was like she was so unkempt. And one thing my granny said that just take me back home and take me to your mom. So my brother, of course, came back, told my mom. My mom rashly went and picked her mother. Remember, this is the daughter her mother really trusted and loved. So to cut the story short, this scenario, my aunt, my mom's sister, never remembered this scenario. So time comes, I can tell you how nature does. She gives birth to two children, a son and a daughter. They are all in the UK. They are well established. So she decides to buy herself a ticket and travel to the UK. I mean, she goes to the UK, and the first thing we hear in the morning, she's calling my mom on the phone and she's crying. Do you know what's passing? Sorry. Do I look so old? Do I look so bad? Do I look so what? My mom was like, "Why are you saying all that? Can you imagine? They have locked me in the bedroom because they have a party. They are holding a party in the other room." So she was crying. She had forgotten she did the same thing to the mother. She had forgotten the way she was hiding her mother away when they were having parties. These kids grew up seeing this and now they were adults. So probably the children or these grown asses could not remember this scenario that once happened in their house with their grandma. So then she gets struck, just like her mother did. And I can tell you one thing for sure, none of her children is even around. So apparently, we are the one who have to take care of her and in turns. And she, of course, she had only two children. She's grown. She's in her 60. I think she's like in 68, 69 years, but she's still strong. She can still do shit on her own. But she also had to experience that struggle that the mother experienced. And she had to test everything that the mother tested. So this is where you pay for your sins. There is no fire. And the fire here is more hot, very deadly than any other thing. People may be experiencing their fire burning, and we look at it as, but have you ever realized that fire that burns in the heart, I don't know, it's not a tangible feel, but it burns, it pains, it hurts more than any other thing. Now, Africans were made to believe that, well, at the end of the day, whoever there is that place that is going to be better, there is that place that is going to be worse. And apparently, whichever actions that Africans do, they think nobody's going to see them when they are paying. That's why we have people who scam. They are so very much sure that we are doing at the end of the day, after all, nobody is going to see me. Some people say, I'd rather get rich now. Huh. It's okay for you to get rich, but how are you getting rich? Are you getting rich on the expenses of other people's happiness? Are you getting rich on the expenses of other people losing their lives? Are you getting rich on the expense of other people losing their property? Now, the religious system, of course, makes the Africans think that at the end of the day, you are not going to pay for your sins after you ask for forgiveness. It is okay for you to commit all the crimes whatsoever. People be doing this shit deliberately, so very comfortable that, well, right now I'm going to do this shit right now. I'm giving it a duration of 3 months. I'm going to be committing these crimes, and the next time I'm going to be asking for forgiveness, and I will stop doing this. People do evil things deliberately. People are committing crimes deliberately. Somebody will say, I'm going to do this and I'll ask for forgiveness later. You're planning to do something to hurt others because religion tells you that when you ask for forgiveness, you are going to be forgiven. But if people knew that bitter truth about committing all these things, I can tell you the world would be a better place, because everyone will know. Muslims always have the Sharia laws: an eye for an eye, an ear for an ear, and staff for staff. You kill somebody, you get killed. As much as they are all taking the judgment within their hands, as much as they are deciding to judge, and but I feel like it makes people realize that what you are doing to someone, you should be done. It should be done to you. You see, but with this other religion that was introduced to Africa, people think, and that's why we have politicians who are puppets, politicians who are committing crimes against their own countries. Not That's why we have them shamelessly talking about God, talking about religion, talking about, and at the end of the day, everybody's going to be like, who am I'm not God to judge them. They have the right to do that. Apparently, I'm not God to judge them. And somebody else say they have the right to talk about God. And then somebody has the right to come back and say, I'm so sorry for all that 20, 30, 40 years of exploitation. And then at the end of it all, we are like, all right, we forgive you after all. At times, there are a lot of scenarios that actually happen in the other land outside Africa. And most of the people don't know that these people are actually paying for the crimes they have committed on the African soil, because this paycheck does not only fall on the African people. And whether you believe in this African tradition and whether you believe in this or not, at the end of the day, you are going to pay in that same way that I believe in. At the end of it all, you're going to pay. That's why it was important in Africa. Africa's religious education or spirituality, people were told that commit a crime that you are willing to handle. If you are going around sleeping with people's wives, be ready. Make sure that you're comfortable with seeing some other man sleeping around with your wife. If you are a woman and you go around sleeping around with people's husbands, be sure that you are contented 100% with someone else sleeping around with your man. If you are somebody who is a land grabber, be very contented that at a certain time you are still going to pay for this, and you're very, very, you know, pay for the same crime comfortably. But if you feel like you are not contented, you would not be excited, you would not be happy seeing this done unto you, then don't do it. I'm someone who gets pissed all the time. I get pissed over slight things that some people keep on judging, and they're like, how can you be angry about that small issue? How can you be mad? You look at it and neglect it. And I always say that I'm angry because I would not do this thing to that person. And that is how sensitive I am. Though some people say Maria's always angry over slight, small stuff, because I can't do that to you. Maria, there are things I cannot do to people. So I don't expect you to do the same. I don't expect me to disrespect you. I wouldn't wish you disrespect me. And that's why I'm always sensitive, even at slightest thing. But there are things some other people look at as normal things. Someone will look at something like, that's a very small thing. I wouldn't get mad about it because probably it would be okay for them to do it and it's a normal thing, which is not with me. So if at all you feel like you cannot handle something, then don't do it. If you feel like you can handle shit, then do it. If you know that I can handle this 100% whatsoever, go ahead, do it, because at the end of the day you will be ready to handle the outcomes of your actions. Lando says that, have you ever closed your eyes and seen heaven as depicted in the Bible? No, because your mind cannot create anything that's impossible. The mind only creates real possibilities. Yes, Lando. Yes. Thank you for that comment. I've never closed my eyes, and when I close my eyes, let me first close my eyes and try to see the heavens. It's gonna be crazy. But even if I close, anyway. Apparently, people believe there is that heaven that was created by a Mzungu. And until Africans realize that this is where they should create peace, this is where they should create the life they hope for. This is where they should strive and thrive. This is where they should beautify. We would see a lot of Africans successful, because nobody wants to leave this world without testing success. Nobody wants to leave this world tearing. Nobody wants to leave with unaccomplished missions. But we have been controlled mentally not to understand. And apparently, that's why we have these people growing so fast, because they understand the matrix. You want to have a peaceful life, create it here, because you're not going to have it anywhere else. You want to have a beautiful moment, create it here, because you're not going to have somewhere else. Um, Always, usually, I'm going to connect this to a certain story I saw on TikTok a little bit. An African man was trying to differentiate between an African woman and a white woman. This man said the three things that I see are still lacking. And I think I will credit this to religion, by the way. White women are principled when it comes to what they want. If they want you and you're doing bullshit, it is okay for them to quit, though at times they are very toxic. A lot of African women are willing to throw away everything because of the belief that probably happiness, probably they do not deserve the happiness, or religion tells them you cannot divorce your man, even at everything. I'm sorry, I'm not up against black men, but the only black men I believe in, or the only black man I trust, is a black man who understands a black woman. Is a black man who respects a black woman. Is a black man who loves a black woman. A black man who doesn't do that, to me, is not. Is not somebody I will categorize with that. A black man I adore is a black man who is willing to protect their legacy. And when we look at a black legacy, a black woman is involved. That means men are you from history, men have been protectors. We've seen women who usually connect the existence of black women with religion, and at the end of it all, you see your daughter being murdered, or she commits murder, or a lot of crimes, because they misinterpret who they are. They misinterpret this whole thing, driving it back to the Bible. Marriage has failed, family has failed, um development has failed, leadership has failed, because this whole thing runs and engulfs around religion. Religion tells you that God blesses the leaders. We have had people in Uganda, by the way, of current, who are saying, the president of Uganda is in power because God wants him to. Who are we to fight him? He's in power because God chose him to. Apparently, God has not chosen a right leader for us as of now. So they are waiting. They are not putting in an effort. They are not fighting to liberate themselves. They are waiting for God's action. And apparently, their God definitely is going to be the US or Russia, somebody else. Because the next time, just like Ruto, we're going to have another president who's going to be put in Uganda's government. But of course, a puppet like they always do. So they're waiting for that God. And I know that God that people introduce religion meant, they are the gods. In religion, those are the gods. The colonizers are the gods. In religion, the white people are the gods. That's why their Jesus is white. That's why everything in the Bible favors them. Apparently, they are the gods. And funny, Africans don't really know that these people are the gods in the Bible. They call themselves the God. So wait for God to do shit for you. And we have waited, we have seen them do shit. We have seen them put leaders into power. We have seen them decide on our economy. We have seen them making choices for us. We have seen them godifying. We have seen them practically godifying. They have done the God things like they said in the Bible. They decide when Yahweh should die. They decide introducing all those sicknesses. That is why even the Bible says we're going to have COVID coming. We're going to have chronic diseases. We're going to have all these diseases. You're going to be paying for your sins. They are paying. They are paying. We are paying for the sins, because the Bible only talks about the white person. And if you look deep in the Bible, the God in the Bible is a Mzungu. And this is why all the things that are happening. Why is it that seeing that the things we see them right? We're going to see nations that are going to raise. We're going to see superpower raise. These things are in the Bible. We're going to see big countries fighting each other. Now we see Russia. We see now Africans are always watching like it's a movie. They're always watching at this like it's a mirror. They say, yeah, the Bible said. Now we see Russia hitting rocks with the United States. All right. This is just a story. Like I always say, they write their novels and we are actors. We are in action. So they go ahead and say, we're going to see one country, one of the country will come up at a certain time and they will want to control, in the Bible, black people are actually, actually not a creation of God, but we are slaves. People will be struggling to reclaim their slaves back again. And of course, Christians will be like reading the Bible in this sanctuary. Yeah, we are seeing Russia wants to come. They want to reclaim, the big kingdoms want to reclaim the slaves once again. And just you're sitting around and feel pity for the fact that Africans still believe that they are slaves and they should be reclaimed. And every article in the Bible is up against you, and you're so comfortably kissing it. and embracing that is going to be right. Um, there is that nations will stand against each other. The matrix, the matrix, the mind control is tremendously huge. Anyway, I'll let Innocent to have something to say.
Uh, Religion in mind control in Africa. You see very many people in African countries, um uh like we see very many people for like very many people they are doing things uh, um that have actually resulted into we see that religion, cults, and poverty have a long been intertwined issues in Africa. We see that these things move hand in hand, they move together. There is no way you're going to talk about religion and you forget about the cults, neither the poverty, because the creators of this religion, the initiators of this religion in African countries, uh, the main issues, their main goal, their primarily goal is to make Africans poor. We know that for many Africans, religion plays a significant role in their daily lives, and it is often seen as a source of hope and comfort. Um, I really ask myself, how where does comfort comes from these religions that we have that just came into Africa, if it is not a mind control? How do you put something in your daily life every day? You do something every day amidst the religion when it is not a mind control. We know that poverty and lack of education have made some communities susceptible to the influence of cults, which can have harmful and even deadly consequences. We know that religion in Africa is diverse and it includes Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, traditional African religion, and others. These religions, by the way, we don't have African tradition religion. You have spirituality in Africa. So anything that is related to religion is new. So these religions often provide guidance, comfort, and a sense of community to their followers, because religion is all about followings. It's all about having very many people following you in African countries, which makes it a mind control, which makes it an influence among African people, since you have to follow. It's all about following. So many Africans also believe that religion can bring prosperity and improve their economic situation. This is all about mind, because if you just wake up and you go to church every Sunday, every Friday, every Saturday, and any day, your religion goes to for preachings or praying, does that add money to your bank account? Does that add value to your assets? Does that increase your assets you have in life? So that that is a lie, and that is all about controlling your mind, that you can bring prosperity to yourself. That's why I say that religion, cult, and of course poverty lie hand in hand, because there we have seen people in Africa who have committed big and deadly crimes of death just because of religion. Some pastors, they tell you to do some cults so that you can get, of course, money, you can get prosperity and improve your your economic system. Because it is a mind control, you have to follow someone, and so, as a result, religion has a significant influence on African societies, and religious leaders often hold positions of power and influence. We know that, however, poverty remains a significant challenge in many African countries, particularly in rural areas. The lack of access to education, healthcare, and basic necessities like food and clean water can create sense of hopelessness and desperation among the poor. This vulnerability makes the susceptible to influence the cults and other groups that promise a better life, like religions, because of course they promise you better life. They tell you if you pray for this you're going to get this. There are even churches in African countries, not only in Uganda but also in other African countries. I am not sure whether this is also in Europe, but we see the churches in African countries that they tell you that this week we're gonna fast for you, like you're going to get good health. We want to fast for you. So they go into fasting like for 30 days, like for 7 days. They're into fasting, they're fasting for something. I'm not sure about the results at the end of fasting, at the end, because of course they promise you better life after at the end of fasting. I've seen churches that have televisions, that have radio stations, that go in for fasting just to get the money that is going to finance the licenses that for these radio stations, these religious and TV stations. I don't know at the end of this whether these people achieve these goals they talk about. But what I know, they just milk money from people that are followers, because of course we know religion is a business. Mm. We know that cults are often characterized by charismatic leaders who claim to have supernatural powers or connections to a higher power, like pastors and other kind of religious leaders, charismatic leaders in religion. For them, they make believers, followers, people they influence, that they have a connection, a supernatural power connection to higher powers that can bring better life, that can bring about prosperity in people's life, that can chase hopelessness among people. So these people, they often target the poor and vulnerable. Some people in African countries, when they are poor, they are so vulnerable. Anyone can do anything about them. We know churches in Africa. They constitute of the poor people that are in these churches. We see people that have needs, people that have jobs, unemployed people, people that don't have skills, people that have not acquired education system, people that have a lack for clean water in their village. These people target on. These people don't target rich people that have attained success, but they normally target people that are poor. That's why poor people in this kind of religion, their minds have been controlled so much. We see people that have attained success in life, people that have achieved uh, some kind of prosperity and success in life in African countries. I don't know what's going on in Western countries, but we see these people, they are not into much this, they are not into into this thing of religions in Africa. But when we look at people, these people, the religion is targeting poor people, vulnerable people, and to make these people stay poor. There is no improvement these people are going to make. They are targeting these people just to make and to keep them still poor. Lando says that because religion forces individual to believe that fairy tales are real, binding the mind and accept illusion as reality, create backward thinking of reality. This is true. This is true. They create illusion in people's mind. In people's mind. People have that belief for these people, for these cults, for these religions. There is a way these people I normally sit with some pastors, some religions in of course some African of some African countries in some churches. These people, whenever they pray, they tell you if you want to drive, you start driving. They just create your illusions. These things are not real, but they make followers to believe these things are real. You find someone has prayed in a church for 20 years. Someone is before that. We have seen very many people dying in churches. Very many people die. Someone is having an illness. Someone is suffering from HIV/AIDS, going to a pastor to pray for him, so that the HIV/AIDS can go out of him. That doesn't work. Very many people, their minds have been controlled illusionally, like Lando said, just because they expect things that are not real. Because there is no way you tell me that if you don't have a skill to do something, something is going to do that by themselves just by for you praying. If you don't have if at all, if you don't have a business, you're going to get money out of praying. These are things that have been created by these people, the so-called preachers, the so-called pastors, the so-called religious leaders in African countries, and they know the entire matrix about this because they target the poor, they target people that are vulnerable, sick people, they target people that have lost hope, they target people that have tried as much as possible in their lives to attain prosperity and success and have failed for some time. These are people that are targeted. This is a mind control thing. They know that if they control your mind, there is no way you're going to jump out of this because people need to be influenced. They even have a saying that to be a great leader, you have to be an influencer. If you have the ability, if you have the skill to influence someone, if you influence someone's decisions, if you influence someone's mind, you manipulate into someone, you can control the entire someone. This is the thing these people use. And very many people have fallen a prey. Very many people have diverted away from their goals just because of religion. Very many people are focusing on religious issues rather than focusing on issues that mind Africans. Very many people, they don't know about African spirituality. They will tell you more about religion. Someone can read for you, who can read the entire Bible without without even reading somewhere. Someone can preach the Bible. I know the pastors in African countries. I know about the people who are not even pastors, but can give you scriptures in the Bible, can tell you verses and chapters in the Bible without reading anywhere. They have grasped that over time in their minds. But if you ask them a question, the scriptures you have in the Bible, the very many chapters in the Bible, has that brought food to your table? These people will just look angazi. Angazi is a Swahili word which means that you're not you just look, I don't know anything. They just look like you ask someone, yeah, fine. You're following this pastor, you're a follower of they normally call them sheeps. You're sheep, the sheep. So sorry to say sheeps. You're sheep to this pastor, you're sheep to this religion. Has this improved your life? Has this improved your lifestyle? Has this brought food? Has this made your children go to good schools? Has this made you profits financially? Has this improved your spirituality? Your spiritual life has this improved your spiritual life? People will look at you like they have nothing to tell you at that time. And this is what religions have made Africans believe. This is what Africans have put at their forefront. Mm? That's why when you're like bring a child into existence, someone gives birth to a child. The first thing they will do that you have to do child naming. Child naming, we know that is African tradition. But that child will be accompanied by religious name as a must for any child that is being born. So it has been put in our minds that for one, if at all you're giving a child name, you must bring in a religious name. It is a must. You know, if you like give a child one name, someone will be asking, what is the religious name? If you go to schools, they will insist, we want a religious name, we want that given name, we want a religious name. The schools will, there is no institution you will go in Africa, education institutions, when you don't have a religious name. There is no hospital. You're going to go in and they attend to you. If at all you don't provide your two names or three names or four without religious names, they will, that is what they have been put in people's minds to believe that uh, religion is something that is important in African lives to get success in African social life, economic, and of course, financial life. We know that, like I said, these cults they often target the poor and vulnerable people, offering them hope and promises of wealth, success, and salvation. Those are the cults. We know that cults may also use fear tactics like brainwashing and isolation to control their followers. They normally divert them. Someone can tell you in a church, someone can tell you that, no, you know what? You're suffering from what? You know, Pastor, I'm having HIV. Stop taking medication. I'm going to pray for you. This isolation control. When you talk about the isolation control, I normally look into African churches. Pastors may normally separate, they normally isolate new people in that church to the old people that have been in that church. They don't want contamination. Someone may come with the new energies, with the new vibes in the church and changes the entire church. So they normally separate people in churches. I see it in African churches. I don't know about Western churches, but in African churches, you see that these people, if you're new in that church, that is your first day in church, they put you in a separate place. They separate you from the other population so that you don't mix. All new people they are put in a different place. They preach, they manipulate their minds, they try to influence them by force, they force their minds by force, they try to make a lot of manipulations and lies about anything so that they can manipulate them. And this has made very many people to fall a prey into this. We know that in some cases cults have been linked to violence and even mass suicide. For example, in Kilifi, Kenya, Pastor Paul Mackenzie, we heard about that pastor. He's a controversial figure who has been accused of leading a cult. In April 2023, just recently, police found nearly 100 bodies on land suspected to be owned by Mackenzie. The follower at Good News International Church told the police that Mackenzie instructed them to starve themselves in order to meet Jesus. Can you imagine? This man Mackenzie, who owned he was a prominent pastor in, of course, Kenya, the Good News International Church. That guy made the people suffer that they are going to meet Jesus at the end. He made them suffer. Over 100 people. So the rise of cults in Kenya has been attributed to a combination of factors, including poverty, poor education, and easy access to entertaining online sermons. We know that another example is the cult known as the Movement of Restoration of Ten Commandments of God, which was, of course, responsible for the deaths of over 900 people in Uganda in the early 2000s. We know that these movements, all cults, all these new religions in African countries, like in Uganda, we had this restoration of Ten Commandments of God in Uganda. Um, people, people in this cult, it claimed it was in Uganda here. It was led by a nun, a yet to be nun, but this woman was a prostitute, was a sex worker. She later created this kind of movement, which was of course called the restoration of Ten Commandments of God. You know, these people, they rely to religion. This cult or this religion, it was responsible for the death of over 900 people in Uganda. But even up to now, people have not learned. People have not picked examples from this religion. People have not understood the role of African spirituality. Even after these deaths, people are still following up different religions. We see that um, the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God, which was responsible for the death of over 900 people in Uganda in the early 2000s, the cult leader promised their followers that they would be saved from the end of the world. They followed strict rules and made sacrifices. This is what this nun promised the people that her followers. Because this girl, this woman that later became a nun, a fake nun, she was a sex worker. We know that she was a sex worker. She was a prostitute before creating this. But very many people followed him. Just people are like that in African countries. So we know that the influence of cults can be particularly harmful in communities where poverty and lack of education create a sense of hopelessness, and desperation. When people feel like they have no other options, they may turn to cults or religions as a way to improve their lives, even if it means sacrificing their freedom, safety, lives, and property. People can go for that so that to make their life achievable, so that they can achieve success and prosperity in life, so that if anything can chase away hopelessness in the people in African countries. So to address the issue of religion, cult, and poverty in Africa, there is a need for education and awareness in rising. Religious leaders and organizations can play a role in promoting these. So we know that government can take. So, uh, in conclusion, we know that religion, cults, and poverty are interconnected issues in Africa that require attention and action. While religion can bring hope and comfort to many Africans, we know that vulnerable to influence cults, education and awareness raising is social combating. We know that, of course, religion is a system of control used to play on people's subconscious mind state. This is all about playing on people's minds every time and then. Religion in African countries. We know that when you come into the world, you are not born with any religious text attached to you. Many churches, church pastors, and other religious groups use scarce tactics to get you to give you and to give up your conscious mind state, making you a walking zombie. Light comes from actually darkness, not other way round. They have you backward. Why is it that when you go to the church, they don't present any facts? They just say the belief or God said. That's what they say in church. But we know that, but they don't present you with any math, science, or historical facts that support what they are telling you. They just say, if you don't believe, you're going to hell. Much of its brainwashing and used to control humanity. There is no man in the sky. There is no man, I repeat this, there is no man in the sky controlling the universe, no heaven or hell. Buddha, Jesus, Allah are one in the same all the time periods of the world. And the state, um, and the state in which it will go through. Much of these names are the religious names were made by man. We gave the elements of the universe human like the attributes even more so, making them human, giving them names and birthday times and seasons. All of this was just a way to study the and relate universe mind as a whole. People, do your all. All this we celebrate, even the time we are creating. Who said on Sunday we have to go to church? This is mind control. We are controlled. Our mind is being controlled. We know that if not for child indoctrination, the religious of the world would be pretty scarce. Child indoctrination, child abuse, and there needs to be a movement to protect the minds of the children from ideas related to magical thinking. It is absurd to allow such practice to go on today. How making your own child prisoners to false belief can be seen a good thing beyond me. We know that parents in African community are usually good about protecting their young from bad influences and harm. I don't know why they can't see the potential harm they are inflicting on the children by indoctrinating them into religious beliefs. If their religion can hold itself against the truth, there would be no belief. Obviously, there is no confidence in the belief or their deity and their child indoctrination. We see that when you parents are good teachers in African communities, just like African society, like everyone had a responsibility in African society. Uh, Everyone had a responsibility. We know that a father in a family had a responsibility. A spiritual leader had him or her responsibility in African society. Um, Mothers had a responsibility. Uncles, grannies, all of them had responsibilities. But this indoctrination of religion to kids, to children when they are still young, it is a big influence. We know that parents can, of course, protect and raise their children, teach them whatever skills they need, uh, by trying to make them believe. Obviously, there is no confidence in the religion or their deity. And why child indoctrination is and will always be necessary, because without it, religion will not survive in African communities. Mhm. So, Africa before religion. We have Africa before religion. That We have Africa before religion.
Right now. Hello. Hello.
We had Africa before religion. We know that
Hello.
We know that traditional beliefs and practices of African people are highly diverse, including ethnic religions. Generally, these diverse traditions are whole rather than spiritual and passed down forms of on generations. By the spread, we know that traditional regions in Africa are distributed among 43 countries and estimated over 100 million. Although most Africans today are adherents, I'm talking about Africa before Christianity, before Islam, and other religions that are even unpopular in very many African countries. However much we see Christianity, someone is attached to Christianity uh, or Islam. Africans people often combine the practices of their traditional beliefs with the practice of course, these traditional religions. These religions are widespread across Africa, through mostly concentrated in different areas. They have replaced These new religions have replaced indigenous African religions, but are often adapted to African cultural contexts of beliefs. When we talk about tradition African religion, like most Asian traditions around the world, were based on oral traditions. These traditions are not religious principles but a cultural identity, and this is passed on through stories and tales. From the generations to the next, the community and one's family, but also the environment. This is African traditional religion. It plays an important role on one's personal life. Followers believe in guidance or their ancestral spirits. Among many traditional African religions, there are spiritual leaders and kinds of there are many spiritual leaders and of course kinds of priests, traditional priests. I may call it priests. These persons are essential in spiritual survival of the community. We know that these people are responsible for healing and divining, a kind of fortune telling and counseling elders and the young. That is African traditional religion. We see the religions today, they are fighting much to counsel, but they cannot foresee what is going to come, but they are rather business based. We know that these traditional healers have to be called the ancestors or gods. They undergo strict training and learn many necessary skills, including how to use natural herbs for healing and other skills like finding of the hidden object without knowing where it is. Traditional African religion believe that ancestors maintain a spiritual connection with their living relatives. Most ancestors, most ancestral spirits are generally good and kind. Negative actions taken by an ancestral spirit is cause minor illness to warn people that they have gone onto the wrong path. We know that African religions are centered on ancestral worship. They believe in the spirit world, supernatural being, and feel real. Deceased humans still exist in the spirit world and later devote the concept of faith. We know that this can influence and interact with the physical world. This forms of this is widely spread in most of the ancient Africans and other religions of the world before introduction of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Nekati, we know that, however, reverted into the youngest son. I don't know whether this happens to these religions we have today, the mind control religions we have today. African traditional religion, before this mind control religion was introduced, was a religion that constituted a lot. I see religions today, they fight so much as hard to resemble the religions, the tradition, the native religions, our native religions in Africa. We had African spirituality had to do with the European did not create religion or Christianity. All these were systems were created by our ancestor in antiquity. Bastardized
Mm-hmm.
Bastardized the religion, outcast and created religion for Europeans. For me, I see these religions, all these cults, these people, and actually they have a new word for religions they are creating land of. They call them cults. They now call them cults. In Uganda, I talked about in Uganda in 2000, there is a woman. She was a sex worker and later she became a nun. She was a prostitute. She had that cult, that religion that she called actually what the commandments. It was called I think the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God, which was responsible actually for the death of over 900 people in Uganda. This was a woman who was a prostitute, a sex worker. Now she created her own religion, and very many people followed that. Followed that. She promised people to be like people they are going to be taken. Like people they are preparing for the end of the world between in 2000.
Not Chiwetel.
Yali mukazi Kigweterwa mabegako. Kigweterwa
Chiwetel
this
teyali mu 2000.
Kigweterwa yali eno mu maaso kuba mu 2005, if not
Yali
2000,
2000.
when people were promised. But there is this
Kuba
woman.
remember that is the only year when abeerako awake. Oba 2002.
That saga was between 1999 and 2000 because very much Kigweterwa was before.
Yeah. Chiwetel happened before that woman.
Happened before that woman.
Yeah. I think.
This woman happened within because Chibwetere was promising people, was telling people that in 2000 it's the end of the
Yeah.
world. So he collected very many people into the church and burnt them into the church.
But he banned them, and I think that guy traveled abroad. He banned them because he stole their what assets. He didn't want them to ask for the assets again. So he had to ban them, ban the evidence.
So, so in the same year we had the year even in now in 2000 we had that woman. She was a prostitute. She was a former prostitute. She was a former prostitute. Then she promised people that they would be saved from the end of the world. So they followed strict rules and sacrifices. This was a religion. Imagine people. There is no way. I'm not Semania, but these even the Ten Commandments the Bible talks about. These are suggestions from someone. Someone just suggested his 10 things, and people following up these things. I was talking about African tradition. The African tradition, the remarkable change of tradition of Egyptian spirituality was reverted by his youngest son. The high gods, along with more other specialized duties, ancestral spirits, territorial spirits, and beings. And a common theme among traditional African religions. We know that ancestors, we know that ancestors, our ancestors, our ancestral spirits, territorial spirits, and being are the theme among African traditional religions. I don't know what these new religions they are basing on, but we have in Egypt we had the belief in a high god, and we have it here even in Uganda. All actually this African traditional religion they have the same depending on the country, the same should I say rules? Should I say what they follow up to?
Hmm.
Because it's all about having traditional medicine, and with African traditional medicine, there is that part of healing.
In the religions,
Yeah. So it is directly linked to African traditional
divine cover.
yeah.
But when everything that this other European religion designed, though it was driven from the African religion, or what I would call our tradition as Africans, or our traditional beliefs, you will realize that they painted the African tradition black, yet there is the element of that in the religion. Like last time we spoke about the saints. You keep on, they tell you don't believe in your ancestors, but you have to believe in their ancestors. So because there is no way someone else's ancestor is going to work for you, Takumani, you have no connection. So they knew if Africans remain Africans and celebrate what they celebrate or practice their tradition the way they find fit or how they used to, definitely things will go on with them. So they have to divert us. And that's why we have saints who are, who are white, and we are all praying to those saints, and we don't pray to our sisters who are actually saints to us, and we don't pray to them. They made us believe that everything you pray, for, as long as it's blood, definitely that's not right.
So religion deals with subjective, which means there what relates to our states of mind, ideas, values, and framing our interactions with other people and the world is not something that of course, leads itself to physical world.
Mm,
Uh, we know that religion is a powerful influence on one's beliefs and behaviors.
mm,
When you go to schools, and even I actually, even if you don't believe in God, the culture connection is powerful influence. It can take long time and long efforts to forget the habits built up over a lifetime. Um, Olwaleero, if you take today, if at all someone is a Muslim and is taken to a Catholic school, I want to show how this thing is confusing and how this thing is all about my. If at all those Catholics they don't allow any kind of Islamic kind of discipline or
attitude.
behavior, that guy will behave like Christians. That guy may even forget about praying the five times a day, like they pray in Islamic religion. That guy will be good in all church issues, in all church activities. So it's all about mind.
Mm,
And these people created these religious schools just to preach to preach about their religions, to preach about their theory, their ideologies of religion, because we know that religion is a powerful influence on one's belief. Religion. So that's why they get advantage of the poor people, the vulnerable people, and we know that uh, religion generally um, it sets rules and expectations, just like just like your government, workplace, or a book club. It sets guidelines. So some people will get more involved in it than others. Some people will internalize it more than kati ekitegeeza this thing is the rules they create like the Ten Commandments
The
among the
Christians,
Christians. Kati if at all religion
they
was not a
control, they direct you on what to do. Zino zilinganga guidelines.
mm,
Or what the when you have rules and regulations in a school or in an administration,
ah,
you don't do shit, you
mm,
don't do
those are the
shit.
suggestions I talked about. That they created their thing. That it's the same thing I said that if at all these religions were real, the other people could have suffered just because they're not following up the other religion.
Mm,
But they created these guidelines for you to follow in order to control your mind. Because of course, if they tell you that you have, of course, to believe in one God, there is no way you're going to believe in your ancestors.
mm.
There is no way you're going to depend on African
So you,
spirituality. You
you don't
look
you
at
don't you don't even have to question your mind
yeah,
because it's a sin.
and it is the first commandment of God, as they say. It is the first. You have to only and only believe in one God.
Mm.
If you believe in more than one God, that is. And we have seen people that have changed religion. Someone has been a Catholic, has changed to Islam, and has been now from Islam is changing to another religion, and from another religion is a non-believer, and these people are still living.
And like their concept in those religion, all their concepts in both the Bible and the Quran, they were African concepts, except they preached them on their advantage. They preached them to their advantage. If you look at the concept of the Most High, even the African religion had the Most High, but for them they put their image there. If you look at um, if you look at most of the things, the context they had, but for them, I think they could not believe the fact that Africans had that spiritual part. So they had to impart themselves in the picture. So when we talk about God, that's why I always used to ask people when we talk about Jesus, what is the image that comes into your mind when you close your eyes and you're talking about Jesus? Is it not a mzungu?
Mm,
Because these are the images we've grown up seeing.
mm,
So the moment you talk through Jesus, definitely the moment you talk about that, you close your eyes and pray through Jesus, you're going to see those actors, some of them are even homosexuals, by the way. You're going to see the images of those people, all right, that is going to come into your mind because that is how your mind has been controlled. That means we pray through those people because if that image is the image that comes in your mind, definitely those are the people we are praying to.
so so and that is religion. So we know that this how people have been controlled. We know that they will form the community a quiet practically a quiet practically they will construct and build a community, a kind of community. like
The
like I
community
said,
of the
there's
Catholics, the
yeah.
Barokore,
Mm,
the Muslims, and even we identify ourselves like that.
mm,
You find people in an area, you reach a place and you know a church is Silam. There are apparently a lot of Muslims over there. And when it comes to Muslims, it's funny. You can never find one Muslim in a place. If one Muslim come, they will keep on adding.
mm,
Babeanyo kumpi n'emizikiti.
mm. So we know that some religious beliefs tied together can give the effect of mind control. We know that when you use arguments like everyone who opposes us is evil. If you believe anything besides, if you believe anything, if you believe anything besides, we know that you can only associate with people in your religion. That is brainwashing. Where is it written that you have to associate,
They
you
are
have to allow
confused.
people of your religion for you to pray with certain people, you have to first divert into.
Now, have you not heard Muslims call others kafiris?
Yet African religion, African traditional religion,
Was
whether,
basically based on unity.
yeah, whether you came from which side of the country, we believe in one religion. You don't need to die. You don't need to change from what you have been in.
Because there was nothing to change.
Mm.
We were all united as we had the same goal, the practices were apparently the same.
So it can be it can be, we know that this was clearly recognized and utilized by the Romans, who felt one religion was much easier to control and monitor than many. So they discouraged all other religions. These wealthy evangelists and religious leaders, we know that it clearly knows that this and have used to the advantage of very many people. Very many people are believing that they are single, but they are the most people that have money, that are wealthy, at the expense of the poor people. Because if
And
at
they
all you
keep
don't have money in the
exploiting.
church, they won't respect you. Even if someone did shit anywhere and he has money, people will respect that guy or that person. Alina about ababbi nga babba oli nabba ekiwumbe mu church n'akitwala mu church endala, and they take it as a gift and they recognize. Oli nabba wano ekifaananyi kya Bikira Maria n'akitwala n'akitunda ne bakiteeka oli n'akiwanga offertory in another church. So it can be through simply a form of comfort for many who are depressed or lost, in doubt or fear, or what it come of this simply needing guidance or support. The problem is simply not being corrupted and taking advantage of people. Religion actually it is the most corrupt thing in the world, I think.
Mhm. It doesn't care, it exploits both the mind and the physical.
So we know that still uh, in mind control credibility of religion is a mind control. We know that um, religion has repurposed those brain functions towards the dogmas such as feminism, social injustice, identity in politics. That is the case, it would be more appropriate to think of the dogma as outgrowth from natural brain process as opposed some external mind control. We know that the fact is groups form around these dogmas may just be another symptom of human social inclination or desire to strengthen the dogma. It well known religious groups includes recruiting and recruiting the exact moment their own beliefs or most threatening or undermined. Mhm. That is religion and how it is a mind control to Africans. And I don't know when Africans are going to jump out of this. I don't know when Africans are going to jump out of this agenda that is created. The Ten Command judgment. You have to believe in one God. We don't believe in people are dead. Uh, there is a way they relate that. You don't. You don't. There is a way they create that illusion. Lando talked about. We know that. Uh, these people in controlling people's minds in African countries, they use so much of media because you will see that right about now there is something that is growing up in African countries. They know that African countries uh, they are using social media so much now. We are seeing very many pastors preaching now online. You'll be scrolling around your phone and you meet about very many people very many pastors now preaching uh, online. So people have been there is no actually I know we can avoid this if at all we believe that we can avoid this kind of mind control in Africa. um, we know that at least I believe that particularly in some I believe particularly in some extreme cases, this is the case. However, many believers find strength and comfort and support religious communities. I don't know whether people believe that mind control, the mind control thing. Actually, let's take a religion, for example, Islam, um, which is the best and completely pragmatic religion, even Christianity. How does it control your mind when it is giving full freedom of choice? God has informed of the consequences, but He has never forced anyone's brain onto Him. He wants you to follow it. If religions like Islam is controlling the mind, and how come so many people? Hey, 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 hey. If I do that, very much to take. I'm concluding it to us.
Atanzijia tebanagamba mbu saakoze.
Ani agenda okugamba? Oli okyogeddeko ng'okoze?
Ate gwolowooza awa yakugamba ki? Yalina ki?
naye twafining out nga twakola wano awo, twafining out nga
Dakiika munaana miramba.
twafining out nga twakola wano awo kube comment zange.
Africans have not made decisions on their own. Religion has brainwashed or controlled their minds when it comes to decision making. Like I said at the beginning of this show, that most of the decisions that Africans are making actually about are on a basis of religion. Some people will defy all the odds just to make sure that they uplift religion. That's one. They follow the commandments, the law, the rules. That they will live that they are clouded. Their thinking is always clouded by this. We've had people even deciding to choose a political leader basing on religion. And somebody says that one is a Muslim, I can never definitely vote for that person. And somebody says that one is a Catholic, I cannot definitely vote for that person. The decision making, the marriage, someone decides I'm not going to marry so and so because they belong to a certain religion. Someone, the parents usually refuse. You bring your husband or your girlfriend and they say what religion does she come from, and you say probably she's a Muslim or she's born again like they call it. And then your parent, if he's a Catholic, she's definitely gonna reject her because she is a Muslim. And if he's a boy, a man, the same story goes on. And a lot of people are doing this, after all, people have to respect what their parents say in Africa. So at the end of the day, you have to know where you're going to trade. The hunting grounds you're going to be looking at. Definitely, religion has become one of the elements of a relationship. The choices you make in a relationship. So this has controlled the entire society, and it is inevitable because at the end of the sometimes our parents are bent. Some of them are so close that you cannot tell them otherwise. So simply, you love your parent, you want to have peace, you want your parent to die when they are happy. You just have to comply. I can tell you this thing for sure. I can never, because I'm not somebody who believes in religion, but not in the entire world I've ever thought of dating a Muslim man. Because I know one time my mom's not going to, our family is going to say, you can't bring that Muslim man. We are not so much in tea, but they have that stereotype. You can't bring a Muslim. Yeah, apparently, because they feel like they're so crazy shit. Yeah. But that's religion. Even if your mom says all right, even if your brothers say all right, your uncles are not going to agree. Your aunties are not going to agree. Apparently, everybody's going to be up against that. And family, African society, we respect family a lot. We respect the decisions the family do ally, and that has been happening throughout history. So when you look at the respect Africa has, and then you look at this influence that has come, at the end of the day, you see that Africans are tied when it comes to decision making in some things like marriage. You may know this is not important, religion is not important for your marriage, but again, you ought to respect your mom, you ought to respect your parents, your family. You just have to let shit go, and you don't tread there at all. You don't look in those hunting grounds because they're not allowed. But in African society, there wasn't segregation. There wasn't a segregation in belief. There wasn't a tribal segregation. There wasn't anything like that. we were one, we lived happy. And now, no matter how conscious you are, no matter how, because at the end of the day, no matter how conscious you are, uh, me personally, I wouldn't like to make my mom sad. I mean, we've come from far. Without her, I wouldn't be me. So I cannot trade that for anything. Though at times, you just have to let shit be shit and say, all right, just make your mom happy. After all, I mean, you just have to make her happy. That's something I don't trade for. That's so you just have to know that probably we are living with a society that is so immersed in religion that no matter how conscious you are, it is inevitable for you. As you may decide to practice. I usually say this to me. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna teach my children to allow or stuff that I feel like are not right. But I know the moment I said they're gonna visit their grandparents, definitely they're gonna be told. All I'm gonna do is to let my children see that sure, but we have to stay in harmony. This is not war. It's not violence. I'm just gonna teach them the truth about life and respect and stuff. And but I know one thing for sure: the moment they leave my house, and probably they're going to my mother, or they're going to see my brothers, or sorry, my aunties. They're going to bring that element of religion. So definitely they're going to tell. They're going to be telling them about Jesus and stuff like that. But it is up to me to train my children to understand how this matrix works. So we are not going to be pulling, because if we start a religious disagreement in Africa, a lot of wars have been built based on religious disagreement. That Muslims decide to start killing Catholics, and at the end of the day, violence everywhere because of religion. And by the time we wipe away this kind of cults in Africa, a lot of bloodshed will have occurred. So we have to temper this slowly. You just challenge people, you know. Anyway, but that's it. Thank you so much. Uh, God, I hope you're better concluding.